Now, coming to the last video of the chapter Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne Gabriel. So, in the middle of the confusion that whether they had landed at the same place from where they had started their journey or not, Axel Lidenbrock and Uncle Otto Lidenbrock were standing at that strange place. In the meantime, Axel Lidenbrock he noticed something shiny lying on the ground under his feet. So he quickly picked it up and showed it to Uncle Lidenbrock, and it was a small dagger. Dagger means a small knife. So when Uncle Lidenbrock, he saw that small dagger, he, out of surprise, he said that what made you bring with you so useless a weapon, he exclaimed. It was needlessly hampering yourself. So he said that why have you brought this weapon with you? And indeed, it was hindering your movement. Hampering means hindering, stopping. ये तुम्हारी मतलब जर्नी में एक बाधा थी, अड़चन पैदा कर रही होगी, this knife. I bring it? It is quite new to me. I never saw it before. Are you sure it is not out of your collection? So Axel, after listening to Uncle Lidenbrock's dialogue, he said that I brought it. It is quite new to me. कहता है, it is this. I have seen this knife for the first time. I have never seen it before. Are you sure it is not out of your collection? And he asked Uncle Lidenbrock that is it not yours? Does it not belong to you? Not that I know of, said the professor, puzzled. I have no collection of the circumstance. It was never my property. So the professor, or you can say Uncle Lidenbrock, he said that it was, never my property. It never belonged to me. So Axel is, very much surprised. He said that this is very extraordinary. I said, musing over the novel and singular incident. Musing means thinking, and novel means new. So Axel, he said that it is quite strange. It is quite, strange and he thought over that, he started looking at that newly found dagger. He said, not at all. This is a very simple explanation. The Icelanders are known to keep the use of these old-fashioned weapons, and this must have belonged to Hans, who has let it fall without knowing it. Now, Uncle Lidenbrock, he said that not at all. It is very simple that Hans Bijelke, who was our companion, he might have brought this weapon. As Icelanders, the people, those who live on Iceland, are, famous to keep these old-fashioned weapons with them. So this must have belonged to Hans, who has let it fall without knowing it. और कहता है Hans से गिर गई और उसको पता भी नहीं लगा. I shook my head. That dagger had never been in the possession of the peaceful and taciturn Hans. I knew him too well. So Axel, he expressed his disapproval by shaking his head. And he said that this dagger had never been in the possession. Possession means ownership of the peaceful and taciturn Hans. Taciturn means tending not to speak much, who is a very quiet person. He said that as far as I know, Hans, he has never had this knife in his possession. I know him too well. And Axel said that I know Hans very well, and this knife does not belong to him. Then what can it be, unless it be the weapon of some prehistoric warrior? So then Axel thought that what can it be? ये क्या हो क्या सकता है? It can be the weapon of some prehistoric warrior. Warrior means soldier or fighter. So he said that it might be the weapon of some prehistoric times fighter or soldier. I continued, or some living man, a contemporary of that mighty shepherd from whom we have just escaped. So he said that, or it might belong to some contemporary of that, giant man from whom we have just escaped. क्या कहते हैं, हो सकता है कि वो जिस आदमी को अभी हम मिले थे, जिसको अभी हमने देखा था, वो जायंट मैन हो सकता है उसका ही कोई साथी हो जिसका ये वेपन गिरा हो नीचे. But no, mystery upon mystery. This is no weapon of the Stone Era, not nor even of the Bronze period. It is made of excellent steel. So, but at the same moment, he said, no, it was secret on secret. Mystery means secret. राज पे राज होता जा रहा था, because that does not belong to Hans, or it was not of the possession of this Axel or Lidenbrock. So he said that this weapon was not of Stony era or of the Bronze period, but it was made up of excellent steel. So it was something which belonged to not very old times. My uncle stopped me short from entering upon a whole train of theories and spoke in his most cold and decided tone of voice. So at that moment, Uncle Lidenbrock, he stopped Axel from, thinking too much and frame too many theories that to whom does this dagger belong to. So he said in a very, serious tone, calm yourself, my dear boy, and endeavor to use your reason. He said that, Axel, be calm, cool down, and just try to use your reasoning ability. Try hard to achieve. Endeavor means try hard to achieve. He said that try to use your reasoning ability. This weapon is one of those worn by gentlemen in their belts during the 16th century. He said that this weapon, it belongs to one of those gentlemen who lived in the 16th century, and they used to hide this knife in their belts. Its use was to give the final blow to the foe who would not surrender. Blow means hit, foe means enemy, surrender means to give up. And this dagger was used to give the final hit to the enemy who did not give up or surrender. So it is clearly a Spanish workmanship. It belongs neither to you, nor to me, nor to the hunter, nor to any of the living beings who may still exist so marvelously in the interior of the earth. So Uncle Lidenbrock, he said that this dagger is clearly a Spanish workmanship. It is made ऑफ स्पेनिश आर्ट. ये ज़रूर स्पेन को बिलोंग करती है, और ना ये डेगर तुम्हारी है, ना मेरी है, ना हंटर की है, ना ही उस जाइंट मैन की किसी कंटेम्पररी की है, बट it is existing in the interior of the earth. So what can you mean, uncle? I said. So Axel said, that means, uncle, basically what do you want to say? That then how this weapon has come here? Look closely at it, he continued. These jagged edges were never made by the resistance of human blood and bone. So Uncle Lidenbrock, he says that, Axel, look at this weapon closely. The jagged means the spiky, or you can say the rough, sharp pointed protruding edges, जो किनारे zigzag वाले किनारे थे. कहते ये human के द्वारा बनाए गए नहीं है. It is not man made. The blade is covered with a regular coating of iron, mold and rust. So कहते हैं जो इसका blade का cover है वो it is coated with iron, mold and rust. वो iron का बना हुआ है और rust लगी हुई है, उसके ऊपर जंग लगा हुआ है, which is more than a century old. और ये जो जंग है ये कम से कम 1 century old है. Century means 100 years. 100 साल पुराना जंग लग रहा है ये. The professor began to get quite excited and was allowing himself to be carried away by his fertile imagination. So Otto Lidenbrock, he was very much excited to find this dagger, and he kept on thinking and let his imagination take him wherever he could go. He cried, "We are now on the verge of a great discovery." So Otto Lidenbrock, the uncle, he was very much excited, and he shouted that, "Axel, we are on the verge." Verge means edge of a great discovery. This blade of a dagger you have so marvelously discovered after being abandoned upon the sand for more than 100 of years has been invented by someone endeavoring to carve an inscription on these rocks. कहते कि ये जो dagger तुम्हें मिला है ना, it has been marvelously discovered after being abandoned upon the sand for more than 100 years. कहते ये तुम्हें मिला है जब इसको यहाँ पर 100 साल पहले किसी ने छोड़ दिया था. धरती के ऊपर आफ्टर मेकिंग सम कार्विंग्स ऑन सम रॉक्स और सो। कहते ज़रूर ये किसी ने रॉक्स के ऊपर ज़रूर यहाँ पर कार्विंग करी होगी, कुछ ना कुछ लिखा होगा या बनाया होगा जिससे कि हमें मतलब कुछ हो सकता है डिफरेंट मिले और ये यहाँ पर छोड़ा गया है। Now coming to the next page, last page of this chapter. But this dagger never got here of itself, I exclaimed. तो लेकिन एक्सेल कहता है बट अंकल ये यहाँ पर अपने आप कैसे आ सकता है? It could not have twisted itself. Someone therefore must have preceded upon the shores of this extraordinary sea. कहते हैं इट मीन्स ये अपने आप ट्विस्ट नहीं हो सकता, मोड़ा नहीं जा सकता. इट मीन्स हमारे यहाँ पर आने से पहले somebody might have landed upon on this shores. Preceded means before us. Yes, a man. But what man has been sufficiently desperate to do such a thing? तो एक्सेल कहते हैं कि लेकिन कौन आदमी इतना डेस्परेट होगा कि उसको जानकर ये नाइफ को यहाँ छोड़ कर जाए. A man who has somewhere written his name with this very dagger, a man who has endeavored once more to indicate the right road to the interior of the earth. तो अंकल लिडेनब्रॉक कहते हैं कि ये नाइफ उस आदमी ने छोड़ी है जिसने ज़रूर यहाँ पर अपना नाम लिखा होगा इस डैगर से, जिसने कि एफ़र्ट किया एक बार फिर से कुछ हमें हिंट देने के लिए ताकि हम लोगों को सही रास्ता मिल पाए टू रीच द इंटीरियर ऑफ द अर्थ. चिल्ड्रन हियर नोटिस, जब तक वो इस टेरेन पे नहीं आए थे, till that time now they were thinking to go back to the surface of the earth. But जैसे ही ये उनको डैगर मिला है, now again Uncle Lidenbrock is hopeful that they might reach the center of the earth. Let us look around, my boy. You know not the importance of your singular and happy discovery. तो अंकल लिडेनब्रॉक कहते हैं एक्सेल, now we need to observe our surroundings very much carefully, because you do not know the importance of your wonderful discovery. What you have discovered is really wonderful. Extremely interested, we walked along the walls of the rock, examining the smallest fissures. So अब वो दोनों बहुत ज़्यादा excited थे. Now they started observing the rocks very carefully. They walked along the walls of the rock and they were examining smallest fissures. Fissures means लॉन्ग डीप क्रैक्स. रॉक के ऊपर कोई भी क्रैक था उसको बहुत ज़्यादा माइन्यूटली वो ऑब्जर्व कर रहे थे. वी एट लास्ट रीच अ स्पॉट वेयर द शो बिकेम एक्सट्रीमली नैरो. फाइनली उस जगह पर पहुँचे जहाँ पर वो किनारा, नदी का किनारा जिसके अराउंड वो घूम रहे थे, वो बहुत ही छोटा हो जाता है. दे ऑलमोस्ट bathed the foot of the rocks. तो मतलब इतने में हो गया कि वो बिल्कुल रॉक्स के पैरों तक पहुंच गए, मतलब रॉक के बिल्कुल नीचे तक पहुंच गए, इतने क्लोज वो पहुंच गए थे. विच वी वर हियर वेरी लॉफ्टी एंड स्टीप. मतलब इतने बड़े बड़े पहाड़ थे कि वो ऐसा लग रहा था कि उसके बिल्कुल पैरों में खड़े हुए हैं. Lofty means very tall, steep means rising or falling sharply. There was scarcely a path wider than 2 yards at any point. मतलब इतना छोटा, इतना narrow वो way था कि hardly it was 2 yards wide. At last, under a huge overhanging rock, we discovered the entrance of a dark and gloomy tunnel. तो finally वो एक बहुत बड़े overhanging rock के पास उन्हें एक डार्क एंट्रेंस दिखाई दी टू अ ग्लूमी टनल. ग्लूमी मीन्स डार्क टनल, एकदम अंधेरा था उस टनल के अंदर. फाइनली उनको एक एंट्रेंस सी मिली एक टनल की. There, on a square tablet of granite, we could see 2 mysterious and much worn letters, the 2 initials of the bold and extraordinary traveler who had preceded us on our adventurous journey. हमें उतने में एक बड़े से स्क्वायर ग्रेनाइट के ऊपर 2 मिस्टीरियस लेटर्स दिखाई दिए जो कि इनिशियल्स थे और बोल्ड लेटर्स में लिखे हुए थे उस एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी ट्रैवलर्स के नाम के फर्स्ट 2 लेटर्स जो हमारे से पहले यहाँ पर पहुँचा था. AS. Cried my uncle. You see, I was right. Arne Saknussemm. Children, if you remember, in the beginning of the novel, जब मैंने आपको introduction दी थी, at that time also I told you कि this Uncle Lidenbrock, he had found a book of Arne Saknussemm. In that book, he had read he had read about his journey to the center of the earth, and that was a manuscript written by hand by a great scholar. He had written, a detailed account of his journey to the center of the earth, and Uncle Lidenbrock had found his written document inside that book written by Arne Saknussemm. And finally, now here he had found the first two initial letters of Arne Saknussemm, and now he's very excited that he would proceed on his journey to the center of the earth. So, thank you so much, children. With this, it is the end of this chapter, but there was a lot more that happened in the novel, and for that, you have to read the novel only. Thank you so much for watching all the videos of mine.